Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Jazakallah for joining today's G3 Hifz-ul-Qur'an class. We should start the class. Can I have a student to come to the mic for the opening prayer, please?
Can I request G3 158 to unmute their mic?
G3 158. Assalamu alaikum. G3 158.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullah. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm well, alhamdulillah. So, would you like to start with the opening prayer? If I just quickly come down to the ta'awuz. Do you want to start with ta'awuz and tasmiyah?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
A'udhu billahi min shaytanir rajim. Bismillahir rahim.
Jazakallah. Okay. Can you read that dua for me?
Yes. Rabbish rahli.
Okay. Would you like some help?
Yes, please.
Okay. So let's read together. I'll recite first, and you can follow me. Rabbish rahli.
Rabbish rahli.
Sadri.
Sadri.
Wa yassirli.
Wasadri.
Okay. So wa yassir
Yassir
li
li amri.
Okay, do you want to read the translation, please?
Yes. Lord, expand my mind and make my task easy for me.
Jazakallah.
27.
Jazakallah. Thank you so much. Okay, we'll move on to the next part of lesson. So today's lesson is lesson number 6, and we'll be doing Surah Ar-Rahman, verses 12 to 13. And I know last week you practiced, revised, and you also hopefully you learned your hifz of surah, the verses from 1 to 11, and we should be going over those as well, inshallah. So okay, so you must be familiar with our routine right now. So because we're reciting the Holy Qur'an, and the Holy Qur'an is the word of Allah, and that demands a certain respect and decorum. So when we're in the class, it's very important to have done ablution, which is wudu. So you should be in a state of purity. Your clothes should be clean, because when you come to read the Holy Qur'an, it's just like the namaz. Our intentions are displayed by our actions. And if we're clean, we're ready to learn in a clean state. Girls should have their heads covered with a dupatta, and boys should be sitting with dopis. You should ideally be in a quiet place so that you can concentrate and you can pay the due attention. In terms of parental supervision, you should have a parent with you. Sometimes there's queries, and maybe they could answer the query. And sometimes it could be the case where you just need a little help in reading. So while we're all reading, you should be following, and your parents can supervise that. You should also have the correct ID. And I've noticed some people don't have their correct ID. So in that situation, we're in week 2. And what we intend to do is that if you don't have the correct ID, you will be placed into the waiting room. We'll go soft on you for today, but hopefully for the rest of the week, please ensure that you have your correct IDs. And if you find that you don't know your ID, you can go over here, you can see this email here, and you can ask them to give you your correct ID. Okay, so just ensure that you're following the class etiquettes. So Jazakallah. Okay, on to the lesson for today in terms of the rule. So today's rule that we are studying is idgham. And I know most of you have done the G1 and G2 courses, you've been through this before, but we're just going to go for a revision, and inshallah, hopefully we can practice as well. So idgham means to merge. So to merge the sound of a noon sakin or a tanween into the following letter. And that's observed when a noon sakin or tanween is followed by one of the above 6 letters. So over here, you can see these 6 letters: Ya, Noon, Mim, Waw, Ra, and Lam. So there's 2 types of idgham, and that's called merging. So when you see a ya or a noon, a meme or a waw, you have to consider that the letter before it, if it has a letter that is before it coming with a munawwan letter, which means that there's a double fatha, double kasra, or a double dhamma, in that case, there's a noon in that sound. So it would be, in this case, this is a tun. Over here, you can see over here, let me change my pointer quickly. Okay, so you can see here, this ha, you can see that it's a munawwan letter. And if you were to read it by itself, you would read tun. But in this case, you can see that it is followed by a waw. And above up here, you can see one of the partial idgham letters is a waw. In this case, the noon from the tun would be partially sounded. So this is how we would recite this. Fakihatun wan nakhlu. So you can see I held on to the sound of the noon for 2 seconds. So that's a partial idgham where you can hear the sound. So the sound may be merged completely, which is this ra and lam, with no nasal sound, or partially with the 2 second sounds, which is what I just explained to you here. So I did it for 2 seconds long. So it depends on the specific letter that follows the noon sakin or the tanween. Over here, you can see the ra and the lam. And in this case, if you see a munawwan letter or a noon sakin before it, the noon sakin sound is completely dropped. I can actually show you an example. Let me see if I can get you onto the correct screen here. 1 second. Okay, so I hope you can see my screen. So over here, you can see the examples of what I'm talking about. So over here, you can see that there is a dal with the moon, 2 dhammas above it. This would be a dun by itself. But when you see, it's followed by a lam mushaddad, and we're going to join it, but we don't say dun la, we say dulla. The noon is dropped completely in this case. And also with the ra, as you can see here, the same applies to the ra. So in this case, we would read it as mir rabbi, not min rabbi, mir rabbi. And over here, you can see the example of the waw and the ya. In this case, you can see a ya shadda over here, and you can see a noon sakin preceding it. So what happens in this case? The noon sakin is pronounced for 2 seconds, but only partially. So we don't say man yu, we say mayu. Mayu. Okay, so I hope that's clear for you. We're going back to that lesson. I hope you can see this. Okay, so that's the lesson of idgham for today, and it comes in our practice in a moment. So let's move on to the practice verses that we are doing now. So today's verses that we will be studying revising are verses Surah Ar-Rahman, verses 12 to 13. So I will start this recitation. I will read it to you how it's supposed to be read. Next week, hopefully, we will have an audio of this so that you can hear how it's recited. But for now, I shall read it to you, and I can get somebody to do the translation if you like. Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم فيها فاكهة والنخل ذات الأكمام والحب ذو العصف والريحان. Okay, so can we have a student to the mic to read the translation for this, please? Assalamu alaikum, ST.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullah.
I'm going to invite.
Wa alaikum salam.
Yes, G3542.
G3542. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Okay, would you like to try reading the English over here? So you can read A'udhu billahi minash shaytan.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim.
Okay, go
In
ahead.
the name of Allah, the gracious, the merciful. Therein are all kinds of fruit, and palm trees with sheaths, and grain with its husk and fragrant plants.
Okay, excellent. Jazakallah G3542. Okay. Yes.
Can my brother read half?
Yes, you can actually. Let me ask you if you want to go ahead and read these verses. So, because you started already, so go ahead and recite from Bismillah.
Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. فيها فاكهة والنخل ذات الأكمام والهب ذا العصف والريحان.
Okay, Jazakallah, that was very well read, mashallah. Okay, just a minor mistake here. So when we're reciting, sometimes because we're looking at what we need to read, we sometimes read something incorrectly, or maybe we just miss it. In this case, this is a dhamma, so we read it as dhu, not a dha, yeah? Okay, and this here, how long is this elongation for? Do you know?
2 seconds.
Well done. Okay, do you want to read this whole verse again then?
والهب ذو العصف والريحان.
Okay, Jazakallah. So I've noticed here, so sometimes there are letters in between and they don't have anything on above them. So there's no stroke above them. So these two here, I have no stroke. In this case, because there's a shadda on the ra, we have to join the ra to the wa and we ignore the lam and the alif completely. So in this case, we read it as wara rather than wal ra. Okay, let me read this verse to you. Do you want to follow after me once I've read it, yeah?
Yeah.
وَالْحَبُّ ذُو الْعَصْفِ وَالرَّيْحَانِ
والهب ذا العصف والريحان.
MashaAllah, that was much better. Well done. You elongated this correctly and you also did not pronounce the lam. In this case, what's happening, I think it's just a sort of a common error that we're making anyway. So instead of saying dhul, you are saying dhal. If you want to read this up to here, the fa, and I'll help you. So wal habbu
والهب
dhul asfi.
ذو العصف.
Yeah, that's much better. Okay. Jazakallah G3542. That was really good reading. Can I have another student to the mic, please?
Can my brother read?
Yes, go ahead. What is your brother's ID?
What's your ID?
G3542. What's his ID?
G3543.
Okay, go ahead. Assalamu alaikum G3543. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How are you?
Fine, alhamdulillah. How are you?
Good, I'm well. So do you want to start? So go ahead from Bismillah. You can read A'udhu billahi minash shaitan.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم فيها فاكهة.
Okay, so shall we just stop a second? So this is the lesson that we just learned here. Oops, sorry, 1 second. This one here. So this is what I just went through. So this is the idgham. And in this case, you see this tun here. How would you read it by itself?
Tun?
Yeah. Okay. But when you see, so ignore these two in between because we're just reading in continuation and you're not supposed to stop here anyway. But so when you read this and you see a waw, a meme, a noon, or a ja, So what happens to the noon sakin in this sound, the un sound, which is the nasalization, it's partially hidden. So we don't say tunwa because we have to join the waw shadda onto this ta'im marbuta.
Do you say do?
Well done. Okay, so you were listening. Okay, yes. So you say tunwa. In order to say the bit, the noon sound, you have to give it a couple of seconds. So try that. Tunwa.
Tunwa.
Well done. Okay, so do you want to try that again? So if you, when you come to this, remember to say tunwa, and remember this wa also joins onto the noon mushaddad. And then, do you know the rule of noon mushaddad?
Yes.
What's the rule when you see a noon with a shadda above it? What's the rule?
Do you give it a bit of?
Yes, that's correct. You give it a bit of time. How much? We give it 2 seconds. Okay, so in this case, there are 2 noons here. And the first one, you give it, you hold on to it for a second extra. So we'll read it like this. Fakihatun wan nakhl. And so when you stop, this turns into a sukoon. But okay, so did you understand what I did there?
Yeah.
Wan nakhl. Go ahead and see if you can read the whole verse.
فيها فاكهة والنخل ذات.
Okay, can I just stop you there? What I'm going to do is I'm going to help you to read it. I think it is better for you to learn that way. So go ahead and recite after me. فيها فاكهة والنخل. So don't read this again. So we'll just, okay, let's read up to here. So we'll read up to here. فيها فاكهة والنخل. Okay. كيهة والنخل.
كيهة والنجل.
نخل. This is a kha. It's easy to get it confused with a jim, but this is a kha. Okay. Dhatul akmam.
ناخل أقنام.
Okay. Dhatul akmam. Okay. والحب ذو العصف والريحان. Okay, that was really well read. So just remember what we're doing here. So when you look at the rules, take it slowly. And if you find it difficult, break it into smaller words. So you can just break it down into words that are easier for you, okay? Well done. Keep on practicing. Jazakallah G3543. Can I, so actually we don't have time for another student. We would now go on to the next part of our recitation. So from last week onwards, what we have been doing is that we've been learning verses in sections from 1 to 6, 7 to 9, and 10 to 11. Last week, you were also listened to. So can all the students who've done their homework for last week, if you've memorized a part of the Surah Ar-Rahman, can you put your hand up and the ST will choose you. When you come to the mic, just let me know where you got them to, the teacher got you to listen to up to, and then we can listen onwards from there for you. Okay, ST, can we have somebody on the mic, please?
Yes, I'm going to call G3619.
Okay, one moment. Let me just get my paperwork ready. Okay. Yeah, okay. Go ahead. Sorry. What was the ID?
G3 619.
619.
Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. G3 619. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay, wonderful. Okay, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm well, alhamdulillah. So, were you able to speak to a teacher last week and let them know how much you had recited?
No.
Okay, so we'll just start from the beginning. I'm going to leave it on ta'awuz and you can tell me. So the homework was to learn verses 1 to 11. However much you have learned, if you could just start reciting and I'll check it for you.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Ar-Rahmān Al-Qur'an خلق الإنسان علمه البيان الشمس والقمر بحسبان.
الشمس والقمر.
Yeah. الشمس والقمر بحسبان والنجم والشجر يسجدان والسماء رفعها ووضع الميزان ألا تطغوا في الميزان. That's it.
Okay, mashallah, well done. So that was verses 1 to 9 and you read very, very well. Your pronunciation is very good, but okay. Just a couple of corrections. Let me just get to your memory. 1 minute. Okay, so when you recited this, so I think it's just while we're reciting, we don't remember what we're reading, what we've learned and how we've learned it, but it's very important to get the recitation correct. In this case, this allama, it was read. You read it as Talimul-Quran. It's Talimul-Quran.
Talimul-Quran.
Well done. And this one here, Khalaqal Insan.
Khalaqal Insan.
So you know the Noon Ikhfa rule here, yeah?
Yes.
And the next one over here, this is what you missed out that I left you with. So these things are very important because word for word, and that's just something you missed. I'm just letting you know that you missed something there over here. So just one thing. So this noon mushaddad here, whenever you come across a noon mushaddad, you know it's going to. So we can remember that it's a noon mushaddad because we know that it's joining onto the letter before. Very important to give it 2 seconds. Wan najmu. Okay, Jazakallah. Okay, the rest of your recitation was very, very well read. So well done. Jazakallah G3619.
Jazakallah. Can my brother read?
Yes, he can read. If you just give me 1 moment. So, yep. Okay, go ahead and ask your brother to come on. And you read verses 1 to 9. What is your brother's, what's your brother's ID? G3?
620.
620, okay. G3620, Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. G3620.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Okay, are you ready to read?
Yes.
Okay, and have you memorized the Surah Ar-Rahman?
Not all of it.
Okay, that's okay. As much as you've memorized, if you could just let me know and then we can go through it. Go ahead.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Starts with Ar-Rahman.
Ar-Rahman allama al-Qur'an khalaqa al-insan allamahu al-bayan wash-shamsu wal-qamaru bihusban wan-najmu wash-shajaru yasjudan.
Okay, any more?
No.
Okay, well done. That was really, you memorized it very well, didn't you? So that's really good. Okay, so you've done verses 1 to 7. You've made some minor mistakes here. Let me just show you which ones you've made. So while we're reciting the Holy Quran, it's really important to take it slowly. The slower you take it, the more likely you are to remember it as well. So you made the same mistake as your brother. So you made, I think Talimul-Quran was read correctly, but this is the ikhfa over here. And over here, this wow, I think you missed that wow, I'm very sure. Ash-Shamsu, sorry, it wasn't this one, it was this one here. Again, the same mistake as your brother. Yes, that was missed. It's very important to remember, see that you're reciting it correctly. So, Ash-Shamsu wal-Qamaru bihusban. Yes?
Ash-Shamsu wal-Qamaru bihusban.
Yeah, okay, wonderful. Okay, and over here, so when we come across an ayn, it's very tricky to read an ayn, and let me just find it for you here. So this one here, allamahul bayan. Try and pronounce the ayn. It sounds different to the alif, and it has to sound different. Otherwise, this is ash-shamsu. But if it had an ayn, it would be ash-shamsu. It's quite a strong sound. So try to get the sound of the ayn correct as well. Allamahul bayan.
Allamahul bayan.
Okay, that's very good. Okay, over here, you made a mistake where you actually said you added a letter. Let me just remember where it was. Over here. So yeah, okay, here. Over here, I think it was here. You added a letter here. Wa. Yeah, so one najmu wa shajaru yasjudan. Actually, you added a wa over here. So just be careful how you're reciting it. When you recite it, make sure an adult checks it as well. There's other ways of learning as well. Obviously, if you go online to Al-Islam and you can listen to the recording there, that helps you a great deal as well. Other than that, you read very, very well. So Jazakallah, well done, G3620. Jazakallah. Can I have another student, please? Allah Hafiz.
I'm going to invite G3569.
G3569. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
Wonderful. How are you today?
Good.
Good. Alhamdulillah. Okay, so can you restart reciting? Let me just go back up 1 second. Okay, go ahead.
Bismillahir-Rahmānir-Rahīm. Ar-Rahmān. Khalaqal insan.
Okay, can I stop you? So if you just take it slowly, recite it slowly, it's much easier for you. That way you can remember what you have to say next. So if you start with Ar-Rahmān, that's the first verse.
Ar-Rahmān.
What's next? Sorry.
Quran.
Good, okay.
Khalaqal insan.
Go ahead.
Allamal bayan.
Allamahul bayan.
Bayan.
Okay.
Qamaru bihusban. Wanajmu washajru yasjudan. And that's all I know.
Well done. That was verse 1 to 7. I think you learnt them very well. And so yeah, keep on learning and keep on revising. So there are a few minor mistakes over here. So when we're reciting the Holy Quran, obviously it's important to maintain the rules. So if you recite fast, you're not likely to be able to adhere to all of the rules. So I suggest you go a bit slower, sorry. So, for example, this is a rule of ikhfa. So you say khalaqal insan, just so that you know you've adhered to all of the rules. Okay. So over here, when we're joining on a shadda onto, sorry, I've just skipped it. 1 second, let me find it for you. Where were we? This noon. Okay. So when we're reciting this, 1 second, I think I've actually got the wrong one. Okay. So you recited a noon shadda somewhere and over here, this one here. So rather than saying wanna, do you know the rule of the noon mushaddad? This one here? This noon here, do you know what the rule is for that?
Yes.
Yeah, what's the rule?
You have to press hard on it.
Okay, I can't hear you. If you could come closer to the mic, that would help. But if you could tell me what's the stroke above it? It doesn't look very clear here, but we can see what it is. And what's the rule?
You have to make the jacket sound.
Okay, I can't hear you, but I'll tell you what the rule is. So this is a noon, which is carrying a shadda. This makes this a noon mushaddad. When we recite this, other students, please pay attention because this is very important. You do need to hold on to the noon. You can't read this as wanna because it won't be read correctly. It will be wan-najmu. In order for the sound to be nasalized, meaning that the noon sound goes into your nose, it has to be held on to for 1 second at least. Okay, so you'll be reading one najmu rather than one najmu. Okay? Okay, jazakallah. Other than that, you did really well. Sorry?
My sister reads.
Yes, your sister can read as well. Go ahead.
G3650.
Okay, G3650. Are you G3550? Sorry, what's your ID? What's your sister's ID? Okay, can we have another student to the mic?
Okay. We can have G3588.
G3588. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Wonderful. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm well. Okay, so do you want to start? So we start from A'udhu Billah.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Ar-Rahmān. Allamal Qur'an. Khalaqal insan. علمه البيان الشمس والقمر يسجدان بحسبان والنجم والشجر يسجدان والسماء رفعها ووضع الميزان ألا تطغوا في الميزان وأقيموا الوزن بالقسط ولا تخسروا الميزان والأرض وضعوها للأنام. Jazakallah.
Jazakallah. That was really, really well learned. Very well done. That was verses 1 to 11. Okay, so we're just going to quickly check this for you. So when you're reciting, it's important to go slow, as I said. Over here, if we just have a quick look, what verse was it? It was verse 7. So this rule here is the one that I just ran through. Do you know that rule, Noon Mushaddad rule? So can you read this for me once, this whole sentence? But bear in mind how you're going to read that rule. Go ahead.
وَالنَّجْمُ وَالشَّجَرُ يَسْجُدَانِ.
Well done. Okay, so you know how to recite it. You're doing really well because you've learnt very well as well. This Noon Mushaddad, just be careful that when you recite the Noon Mushaddad, ensure to hold it for as long as it needs to. It's 2 seconds long in order for it to be a nasalized sound, okay? Okay? And over here, how long is this supposed to be?
4 seconds.
Okay, so when we come across a small, this is a mad kabir, which is the bigger mad. And if we come across a smaller mad, that would be 3 to 5 seconds. How long would this be?
4 seconds, 4 to 6.
So we're looking at 5 to 7 seconds. Okay, it's got to be quite long. So if you want to read that again, go ahead. Well done. Okay, that was really good. Okay, and over here, so the mistake that you made over here. So when we're learning, what happens? Sometimes we just make little mistakes. This here, you read it as a ta. It should be read as a tu. Yeah. Do you want to read from here onwards quickly?
ولا وتخسر الميزان.
Well done. Okay, and the next one, the last thing that I just quickly want to here you go. So over here, this is how long do we read this stroke for?
1 second.
Okay, so what happened? You accidentally put an alif after it and you said it for 2 seconds. Instead of saying za or dha, you said za. Okay, in this case, this wal arda or wal arza وَوَضَعَهَا لِلْأَنَامِ. Okay, so just bear in mind those are little mistakes that you're making, and it would be useful for you if you could just go over it and maybe perhaps listen to it online as well to help you. But you've read very well, you've learned very well as well. So Jazakallah G3588. Well done.
Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz, Jazakallah. Okay, can I have another student, please?
Yes, next one is going to be G3674.
G3674. Assalamu alaikum. G3764. Assalamu alaikum.
I can't unmute the mic, so
Okay.
The student is here.
Okay.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Okay, how are you?
जी मैं ठीक हूँ अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह आप कैसे हैं
Shukr, alhamdulillah. Okay, so do you want to start with the ta'awuz?
Yes. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الرحمن الإنسان.
Sorry, could you start that again? I think we dropped you in between somehow. If you could start again. Ar-Rahman.
الرحمن علم القرآن.
G3674. I can't hear you. I think you're getting disconnected or something's happening in between. What I would like to do is can we come back to you in a minute? We'll give somebody else a go for now. And we'll try again with you in a moment. Is that okay?
I'm going to call G3673.
G3673. G3673. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Are you ready to read?
Yes.
Okay, so do you want to start with ta'awuz?
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الرحمن علم القرآن خلق الإنسان علمه البيان الشمس والقمر بحسبان والنجم والشجر يسجدان والسماء رفعها ووضع الميزان ألا تطغوا في الميزان وأقيموا الوزن بالقسط ولا تخسروا الميزان والأرض وضعها للأنام.
Is that okay? Well done. So that's finished. So those are verses 1 to 11. Well done. Okay, so I just want to ask you about one thing. The rest of it you read very, very well. I'm just going to quickly ask you about first just this as well. So how do you pronounce this letter here? Yeah, I have a feeling you knew how to pronounce it. So what's happening? While you're reciting it as an alif, but you can recite it as an ayn. And just remember it's an ayn, not an alif. So Ar-Rahman is an alif. Ar-Rahman, that sounds like an alif. This one here, Talimul-Quran. Yes, it's quite strong sound. So just remember, where there's an alif, you read it as an alif. Where there's an you read it as an a. Yes? Do you want to recite that for me once?
Talimul-Quran.
Okay, do it quite strong. You can do it slightly stronger than that. Go ahead.
Talimul-Quran.
That's the correct way to pronounce it, yeah? And so just remember, where there's an ayn, you recite it as an ayn, not an a, okay? That's really important. Okay, so the rest of the recitation was very, very well read. You've revised and learned very well. Again, you made the same mistakes as the others. This is an ikhfa sound here because there's a sin after the noon. And in this case, it's insan. So you have to give it 2 seconds, but it's partial nasalization. So try that again. Read it from here. Sorry, read it from here.
Khalaqal insan.
Okay, so khalaqal insan.
Khalaqal insan.
Yep, so you've remembered it well. It's khalaqal insan.
Khalaqal insan.
Okay, well done. Just remember that. Okay, and the last thing I want to just make clear to you. So you've read most of it very well, but when you come up to this rule here, do you know that rule? What's this rule here?
Mizan.
Well done. I have a feeling you know all of the rules. You know them very well. But when you're reciting them, you weren't elongating this enough. So there were quite a few moments where, for example, that's a qi, but how long do we do that? We do that for 2 seconds. While reciting it, you read it as wa'aqimul rather than wa'aqimul wazn. So what you have to do when you're revising it, remember to say the correct elongation at the correct place. Yes?
Yes.
Okay, so Jazakallah, excellent. That was really good.
Jazakallah.
Well done. Okay, Jazakallah G3673. Can I have G3674 back if is ready to read?
Okay. G3674.
G3674, are you there?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. Okay, we can hear. Well, I can hear you well now. So, do you want to try again? So, if you start with Ta'awuz.
Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الرحمن علم القرآن خلق الإنسان علمه البيان الشمس والقمر بحسبان والنجم
Start again. والنجم
والشجر يسجدان.
Yes.
And that's all I know.
Okay, Jazakallah. Well done for reading that. Okay, so there's just one major mistake that I'm going to point out to you just quickly, and it's on verse 7. So again, when we're reading this one here, so we've gone through, I think most of you students have made the same mistake, and all students, please be aware, most students are making exactly the same mistakes, and they're quite easily remediable. So you can just fix them by listening to the audio and repeating, and that way you can remember where you have to hold on to and where you have to elongate. So in this case, so G3674, you do know this rule, this one here, Noon Mushaddad rule? Yes, well done. Okay, and what happens when we do a ghunna?
You push down for 2 seconds.
Yes, that's correct. Okay, so what you did when you recited, you said one najm. You did actually try to do it, but essentially it has to be done for 2 seconds. So one najm. Try that.
One najm.
Okay, so the sound has to go into your nose. So it has to go to your nasal passage. In order for it to do that, you have to give it 2 seconds. So every student that's going to recite from here onwards, remember that at this point, when you come up to this verse, then that's what you need to do. One najm. Okay, so Jazakallah G3674. That was really good reading. Well done.
Jazakallah.
Okay, can I have another student to the mic, please?
Yes, we're going to have G3670.
G3670. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
How are you?
Alhamdulillah, good. How are you?
Well, thank you. Do you want to start reciting, please?
Yeah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Ar-Rahmān علم القرآن خلق الإنسان علمه البيان الشمس والقمر بحسبان والنجم والشجر
Start again. والنجم
والنجم والشجر والسجدان
Yes. جودان.
جودان
Okay.
والسماء رفع الميزان ولا تطغوا في الميزان.
Okay, Jazakallah, that was good. Okay, so what happened is that while you're reciting, we're just going to make sure we've got the whole verse recited well, learnt well. Sorry, 1 to 9. Okay, so when you were reading verse 8, you just skipped the whole part, and over here, this whole section was not read. So do you want to quickly read the whole verse? Then you can remember that you need to so it's verse 8. Just remember that so that you can remedy that for us. So go ahead and start again. Was-sama. Remember to read this for the correct elongation. Try that.
والسماء والسماء رفعها ووضع الميزان.
Okay, so when you're reciting this, remember there's no sound. I think you did it accidentally, but I'm just reminding you, it's just a gentle okay? And when you're reciting this, if you're finding it difficult, go slowly, okay? If you want to read this all again, making sure that you read each letter, okay? Go ahead, go slower if you need to. Go ahead.
والسماء رفعها ووضع الميزان.
Okay, so that's how you need to remember where the correct sort of order, and you also need to remember that this verse has an additional part that you missed out. So do revise that again, and we will listen to it again. Okay. The other mistakes that you made when in the beginning, when you started reciting, you were reciting this. So even with the Bismillah, you didn't join the Ar-Rahmān correctly. You said you read it as Ar-Rahmān, and when you came up to the Lam Shadda over here and the Ra, it was Ar-Rahmān Al-Quran, and rather than that is how you should be reciting it. Ar-Rahmān Al-Quran. So this shadda means to harden. It means to hold on to it, to join it. And so you have to do it quite strongly. Al-Quran. Up ahead, you did read it correctly. So Ash-Shamsu was correctly read. But with these ones, you weren't joining them correctly. So make sure that when you recite Al-Quran. Do you want to try that once?
Okay. Al-Quran.
Yes. Allah, the ayn is Al-Quran. Al-Quran. Okay, wonderful. You read very well the second time round. Okay, Jazakallah G3670. Can we squeeze one more student in, please?
Okay, the next one is going to be G3515.
G3515. Assalamu alaikum. G3515. Assalamu alaikum.
I can't open the
Okay.
mic, so I can go for G3623.
G3623. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. G3623. Can we have another student? Oh, excellent. Jazakallah. Okay, wa alaikum assalam warahmatullah. So you are G3623. Do you want to go ahead and read? Because we have very little time. So go ahead.
Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الرحمن علم القرآن خلق الإنسان علم القرآن
علمه البيان
علمه البيان الشمس والقمر بحسبان والنجم والشجر يسجدان والسماء رفعها ووضع الميزان ألا تطغوا في الميزان وأقيموا الوزن بالقسط ولا تخسروا الميزان. That's all I know.
Jazakallah. So that was verses 1 to 10. Okay, so when you're reciting, you've learnt it very, very well. I can see that you've picked it up very well. So when you're reciting, just bear in mind that the rules of elongation. Okay, and the second one here, just 1 second, sorry. Let me just skip down. Okay, so allamahul bayan, that is something. So when we're forgetting things, the reason we're forgetting is because we haven't revised it enough. So what happens is that you need to go back and you need to listen. Maybe you need to revise it, listen to it, revise it, and then practice it once, and then listen to it again, see if you've got it right. That's how to do it, I think. So making sure that you don't miss any. This one here, you read incorrectly at the time. So also, when you're reciting the elongation, so for example, this one here, there is a distinction between a short elongation, which is this one here. Sorry, this wow is a wa. It's just one, but this one here is 2 seconds. But there is a big difference between those and this, so that you have to show that you know that difference. When you're reciting it, remember to ensure that you recite it for long enough. So وَالسَّمَاءَ رَفَعَهَا. That's how you're going to read that, okay? Do you want to practice it once?
Okay. وَالسَّمَاءَ رَفَعَهَا.
Well done. Okay, so you understand it has to be recited much longer, yeah? So make sure you listen to some audios while you're reciting. It really, really helps. So you know where to make the elongations and where to not make them. Jazakallah G3 623. Jazakallah.
Jazakallah.
Okay. Okay. So on to the last part of our lesson. So that was the last student. So for today, our homework is to memorize Ar-Rahmān verses 12 to 13. Those are the verses that we revised earlier on, and we went over them. Do you also need to revise Surah Ar-Rahman's verse 1 to 11 that we've just been listening to, and ensure that you learn correctly? So the knowledge quest, we will not be having a knowledge quest today. So just quickly going over our lesson for today, what we did, what the surah is. The Surah Ar-Rahman is what we are learning. The meaning is the gracious. So, it's chapter 55 is located in part 27 of the Holy Qur'an. There are 3 rukus and it comprises of 79 verses. The surah was revealed in Mecca. Okay, can I have one student to read the end prayer for me, please?
Yes, G3622.
G3622, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Excellent. Do you want to just quickly read the dua?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Allahumma hamni bil-Qur'anil azim waj'alhu li imama wa nuran wa hudan wa rahmat.
Okay, so when we stop, that turns into a ha sakina, rahmah. Okay. Okay, so when you're reciting, you read very well, Jazakallah for that. I'm just going to remind you of one thing. When you're reciting, remember to recite the correct elongation. Hamni, that's for 2 seconds, yeah? Azim, 2 seconds again. Li, this is 3 seconds. And here you recited very well the lesson that we learned today of idgham, manwa, ranwa, and danwa. Do you want to recite the translation quickly for me?
Yes. O Allah, have mercy on me through the great Quran.
Through the great Quran.
Through the great Quran.
Okay.
And make it for me the leader and light, the guidance of the mercy.
The guidance and the mercy.
The guidance and the mercy.
Excellent. Jazakallah. Jazakallah G3622. Jazakallah. That concludes our class for today. And please ensure to do your homework. And inshallah, please join tomorrow's class. Jazakumullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.